Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to the webinar on SolidWorks PDM, a thoughtful manager for your organization. So this is the intuitive solutions that we offer at every stage. Giving you a brief introduction to SolidWorks management, we know that every day there is humongous amount of data that is generated by each and every organization. See, for example, information the data starts to get collected when we started from the mechanical design. So the conceptualization and the design starts, and then there is some simulation and the communication part of it. The manuals are created and the simulation and the testing is done on that, and then comes the electrical design part of it. Once all of these are combined, there is humongous amount of data that is being generated. All such data can be stored and managed wisely by the solution that we offer, that is SolidWorks product data management. SolidWorks product data management, put it in one sentence, is providing the right information at the right time to the right person. So this is a pictorial representation of how your data might at present look like without, even though you have a huge amount of data that is present, but it is all scattered all over and there is huge amounts of junk that is present. But here on the right side, you can see that with SolidWorks PDM, it will help you manage your data better and more easily. When it comes to the difference between PDM and PLM, this picture represents the key capabilities of PLM. We can see that the PLM starts managing your data from the conceptualization till the life end of the product, whereas PDM focuses mainly on these three key aspects. That is, the first one is the collaborative engineering change management, and product knowledge use. So moving forward to the key capabilities of SolidWorks PDM, I would like to say that by this definition that I said, that giving the right information to the right person at the right time, I say that PDM is completely controlled by permissions. So in order to give these permissions, we have various granular security level that is provided, and then we have powerful search tools that are completely customizable. And for organizations that are present in multi-site geographies, we have replication, and then any processes that you in your organization follow can be very easily captured into our workflows. And then moving forward, we are speaking about the data connectivity. When it comes to data connectivity, I would like to say that we have add-ins that can to access SolidWorks PDM or your server directly through the SolidWorks add-in and also the Office add-in that we provide. And then this PDM is completely scalable. So from an organization which has about 2 designers to, say for example, 200 or more designers, this is completely and very easily scalable. And then by following all these key capabilities, the main capability will be highlighted, that is, the productivity curve is shortened. So today we will be looking at the user interface, and then we will see how PDM will help you organize your way, design or develop your designs, find the right information, and also share your data. So you can see that, as I mentioned, there is granular security. I will log into this as a design manager. Let us assume a project is initiated and the design manager is the first person to get notified, and then he starts the process. So this user interface, you can see, is quite similar to the Windows user interface, and then next comes the key tabs that are present. So there is a preview tab, there is a data card tab, version tab, bill of materials, contains, and where used. So these, I will further on discuss on various top information related to these tabs. So the first and the foremost thing would be the preview. You can see that the preview of any particular file that we have selected can be viewed very easily through eDrawings. In a few cases, say for example in a few processes or in a few organizations, there are possibilities that the design managers or the top level management have no access to the SolidWorks design, but whenever they want to review the file that they have gotten, they can do such reviewing through this preview window and also through this user interface. So you can see that the preview is here. You can zoom in and zoom out. You can pan it as well. So moving forward to the data card, we have something called as a data card. So data card basically, as the name suggests, it gives you the main and the key important features or the information related to that particular file that you are using. In this case, you can see that the part name is assembly, and then there is a project number, and then there is an author, basically the person who created the file, and then when it was created. All such data can be very easily generated or obtained on this data card that we have here. And then the key feature of this data card is that these are in turn connected or in relationship with the SolidWorks custom properties that are present. So any custom properties, say for example the weight or the material that are present inside SolidWorks, can in turn be fetched onto this data card, and also any of the data that is present on the data card can be pushed into the SolidWorks custom properties. Okay, this data card here is again completely customizable as per your requirements. We can see that there is something called as the version and revision. So basically, PDM functions in a way that all the data that any designer or any person in the organization present will be saved inside the server. So there is a server which has PDM, and then all the various clients are connected to that server. So any data that any client or any user generates in his machine will not be saved locally and will be saved inside the server. So in order to have access to that data that is present in the server, we set up various permissions in the backend by the admin. So one such permission is to check in and check out. So I'll tell you what is check in and check out. So check in is basically putting the data into the server, and check out is bringing the data out of the server. So here you can see that this particular in this user interface, you can see that this file that I have here has been checked out by the design manager as the column suggests, and then it is also being checked out in the machine beacon-lakshmi. So, and also here this assembly that I have is not checked out and it is still present in the server. So this local version and revision tab will basically give me the information related to the versions that are present. Version again is something that is completely controlled to an extent, I would like to say from 2017, by the user and also by PDM. So here you can see that there is something called as a local version, latest version, and the local revision. Revision is basically something that every organization decides as to when a revision stamp has to be given onto it. It can be alphabetical, it can be numerical, or it can also be alphanumeric in nature. And this again is completely customizable. So previously, I told you there is something called as a workflow. Through the workflows, we can stamp the revision as and when necessary. So moving forward to versions, I would like to say any changes that are made and put into the server will be captured as one of the versions. So these versions are cumulative data that are being stored inside the server. So at any point of time, any user who has the permission on that particular file will be able to retrieve the previous data and then work on it. You can see that this particular symbol looks very similar to the equal to symbol, and then it says the local version is 3 and the latest version that is present on the server is also 3. I will show you another example where it is different. You can see that the local version is 2 and the latest version is 3. This, and also there is a red color symbol and a warning that is available. It says that you do not have the latest version of this file on your local hard disk. By this it means that another person who is working in this organization has access to this particular cylinder 6 part, and then he has made some changes and then has created the third version. But whereas me as a design manager, I'm still only referring to the second version that was present. So in order to get the latest version, there is an option when we right click on that, and that is get latest version, and then you can see that I fetched the latest version that was present on the server. Here you can see this particular file uh, was checked out by the design manager. Basically, it was brought out of the server by the design manager. He made a few changes on that and then he has saved it. But yet he has not put it into the server. How do you differentiate by putting it into the server or whether it is present in my local? You can see that through this version tab. You can see that previously we saw two types of symbols that were present. The first one was an equal to symbol, meaning this version that is present in my local machine and also on the server are the same. And then the next one was the red color symbol, which notified that I have the older version. And then here comes another one which basically speaks about which is green in color and and it tells that I have a locally modified file and the others in the organization only have the fourth version that was created. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to perform a check-in. I'm going to right click on the file and then I say check-in. It is going to ask for a comment. I'm going to say probably changes made in data card. So this comment will also be saved, and then you can see that the version 5 is created. At any point of time, any history of any particular file can be very easily retrieved. So you can see that all the history is captured and also there are comments that are captured and the user and the time was also captured. At any point of time, I can go back and then I say get, and then that particular file will be retrieved in that version. You can see that the second version was very easily retrieved. Okay, moving forward to the bill of materials. PDM offers a bill of materials that is present, and then this bill of materials can be saved and saved in the form of an Excel or a CSV file, and then can be furthermore pushed on. And then moving forward, I'll show you more on the bill of materials. So when it comes, there is another tab called as a contains tab. So when this contains tab basically tells me what are all the files this particular file is being referenced by. So this particular assembly is referred by various number of parts that are mentioned here. And also there is something called as a where use tab. So whenever I browse on to one particular file, it says that this file has been used in various locations. Say for example, this particular part here, number 43, has been used in two different assemblies. One is a sub-assembly and then another is an assembly. So this is captured to let us know that any changes that are made on this particular part may or may not affect these two other folders that or other assemblies that this is being used in. So any changes that you make, it will be very easily, you can very easily take the decisions as to what are the changes that are to be made. So we previously discussed on the user interface, and then now we will move forward to how you could organize your way through PDM. So the general human tendency is such that any number of data that is given, the every individual is going to save that data with his own naming conventions or is in his own folder structure. So this might result in a little bit of a chaos and confusion when that particular user is not present and somebody else wants to access that data. So to bring everything into an order and then make it standardized, we have something called as a templates. So just like in Windows platform, when we right click and then say new, you can fetch on various data. The same way, when I right click and then I say new, there is a humongous amount of projects or data that can be created. In this case, I will create a project. Let me show you previously. There are two projects present already. One is the SolidWorks project and then there is something called as a Beacon project. So you can see that the set of folders that are present here are very similar, and then we will see how it can be generated. So when I say new project, I'm going to give it, you can see that the project number was automatically stamped onto, and then I cannot make any changes to it. So I'm going to give the project name, say probably Beacon Bengaluru, for example, and then I say OK. It is going to create a standard set of data that has to be generated. Say, for example, a customer input sheet that is always generated. It basically has all the inputs that are given by the customer that is getting created automatically. And then there is also the purchase order that was given to us by the customer, for example. And then this particular project is created, and then a set of standard documents or standard set of folders are also generated. You can see that the documents are present here. This again is based on the permissions that I told you. I basically in the beginning I told you there is something called as granular security that PDM provides. So this again is controlled completely by the permissions that I give you. If I give a particular user to create something, he can create it. Or even this can be controlled to a level where just viewing the file or even working on the file can also be controlled very easily. I will move forward to create a SolidWorks part and then push it, and then I'll probably name the part spacer. I'm going to say OK. You can see that a part is getting created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it into the server. So now you can see that this part is no longer being checked out by the design manager, but instead it is there in something called as a state of under editing. This particular state was something that is related to workflows. So I told you there is, if any, the process, if any processes that are, all the processes that are followed by an organization can very easily be captured into workflows, and then can all the processes can be made electronic. So this is one such place where I can do it, and this is again completely customizable as per the requirements. So here this particular part is in the under editing state. I'll do one thing, I'll just log out as a design manager, and then I'm going to log in as a designer. I'm going to say the design, I think the name is designer 1. So it lets me browse into this vault. Previously you could see that the templates folder was also green in color, but now as I've logged in as a designer, I have no access to the templates folder, but I have access to my projects folder. I will go forward and use it. So this was a new project that my manager created. I'm going to check this out, or basically bring it out of the server. And also, suddenly you could see that there was some notification pop-up that was present here. These notifications are something that are again set up inside PDM, and then through the workflow. So any data sharing that happens in between within the organization can be captured in terms of notifications. So if, for example, when a file is created or when a file is sent to one particular person for a design manager, say for example for approvals, such notifications can be sent out. I will open this. Excuse me. Okay. Now here you can see that there is an add-in that is present inside SolidWorks. So the same data that was present, or the same user interface that was present in is also present inside SolidWorks. You can see that the same tab of the version and who is it has been checked out by, and also the workflow states can be notified here. And then you can see that this again is green in color, meaning I haven't added this particular change that I have made into the server. So for that I can press on this, and then the options of getting the latest version, or say for example getting the history of it, or checking in, basically adding this particular folder into the vault, or also the data card, the properties can be viewed here, and then the values properties. All of these data can be very easily, all these actions can be very easily be functioned or performed through SolidWorks user interface as well. So I'm going to perform a check-in. I'm going to say pacer created. I'm going to say check-in. So you can see that this particular file has been checked out, checked into the server, and then it is in the version 3. So now that the part is created, I have to submit it for approval. So the right way is, there is something called as I mentioned previously, there are workflows, and then there are permissions given to the workflows as well. So here there is something called as a change state. You can see that this state is basically in under editing. I'm going to change the state. I'm going to send this particular file for approval to my manager. So I'm going to right click, and then I say change state, submit for approval. It's going to ask me if I have to notify it. Yes, I want to notify my manager. Kindly approve is the comment that I want to add. I'm going to say OK. So once that is done, you can see that the state automatically changed from under editing to waiting for approval. This basically means that the permission on this particular file has been changed from the designer's hands to the manager's hands. Say now, right now, I have logged in as a designer. You can see that I am working as a designer. So I have, let me see, you can see that the checkout or the check-in has been grayed out. This basically means that I have no permission anymore to work on this file. But I can open it, but it is going to open only as a read-only file. You can see that it is a read-only file that is getting opened here. So I will log off as the designer and assume, let us assume I am the design manager here as well. So I'm going to log in as the design manager. So I'm back into the user interface. So now I can see that this particular part. In a few seconds, we can see that there is a pop-up notification that is also getting generated. So this particular part has come for my approval. I'm going to right click. Yeah, you can see that there was a notification that I got. So it basically says that this particular part, the pacer has been generated and then has been sent changed state from under editing to waiting for approval. Once I get this, I have hyperlinks to it as well. I'm going to basically view the particular part, the part that has been submitted for approval. I'm going to view its data card. If I feel there are some changes to be made, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that and then say editing required. So I'm going to say kindly reduce the diameter. Say for example, I'm going to notify the designer one here and then I'm going to say okay. So it moves back to under editing. And then there was another change that was happened. So there is a revision stamp that is getting added on to the data card here. So any changes that are anywhere in, so any changes that I make in my organization has to be registered or has to be noted down under a revision. So for this, I have an alphabetic revision in place. And then every time I say changes required, a new revision is getting stamped onto the particular part. So we saw how we could organize our way, and then we could see how we developed our way, developed our designs through the versions and revisions that are present. So moving forward, we will see how the information is found. So I previously spoke something about a search card that is present. So we also have search tools that are present inside our vault. So I am probably the admin here. So I will log in as an admin because this particular design manager here has no permission to search the files as of now. So I will log in as the admin and then I'm going to browse into I'm going to search for these search cards. I have a complete search card. This again is something similar to the data card and can be completely customizable. So there are 222 ways approximately based on which I can search my files. So for example, I have something called as one. The name contains one. So probably a few years down the lane when the particular user who created that particular part is not present at that time or is not with the organization, but there is a requirement of reuse if that particular part, and then I don't know how it was named. I just know that it had the word or it probably had the alphabet one in it. So I'm going to search based on that. So any information, say for example the description, or if there is any information on the cards that you remember that, or even based on history as to when it was stored or something like that, and also based on the content. We have the search capability as to if there is a particular word file which contains a particular word, say for example replication in it, I can search that document based on the word that I have. That is also possible. In this case, I will search the file which has one and the name one in it. So you can see that once I started the search, these were the number of files that have the number one present in its name basically. So in this way, the reuse of the knowledge is made more easier. Moving forward, we looked at how the information can be found rightly. So you can see that the next thing is share your data. So we previously spoke about how the workflows are functioning, how what is a workflow. I'll show you an example workflow, a very simple workflow that I have designed for my organization. So this is how a very simple workflow might look like. You can see these bell icons that are present here. This basically means that there are notifications set up. So these are called as the states and these are the transitions. So any revision stamp or any changes that have to be automatically performed on that particular file will be performed by this through this workflow. We have something called as tasks that are present here. So the tasks basically mean that we're all familiar with the part of with the SolidWorks schedule manager. So we can basically in just in that way we can basically convert the drawings into PDFs or into any other formats automatically, just like task scheduler. we have tasks inside PDM as well. So if there is a particular drawing that I want to push it on to the production, and then so every time I give the drawing file, I have to manually save it as a PDF and then probably give it a printout. So all of these can be avoided and then be made paperless by using these convert tasks. I can set it up in a way as such. Every time I say send to production, it automatically picks the drawing file, converts it into a PDF, and then saves it in the particular folder for the production as well. That is possible. Not only PDF, but there are various other formats that are possible, like DXF, IGS. All of these are possible very easily. So I also told you there is some bill of materials that are present. So I can set up bill of materials as well. So here I can define whether the file, the configuration part number, all of these are to be added. I will show you an example of a bill of materials. So this is one of the other vaults that I have present in my machine. So here I'm going to browse to this particular file, and then I can see that there is a bill of materials that is present here. This bill of materials basically can be changed to an intended or a parts only or a top level only. And then there are various types of bombs that are present. For example, a basic bomb, or a bomb that is with respect to this particular requirement. And then this in turn can be saved as a BOM file or a CSV file as well. We can see that there are various ways where I can choose this particular BOM to be referring only to the particular configurations that are present inside SolidWorks. So that is also possible in this case. So as of now, we spoke about the user interface that we are already familiar with. And then we saw how we could organize our way through SolidWorks PDM templates that we offer, which are again completely customizable as per our organization requirements. And then we saw how the designs can be developed. Say, for example, the 3 versions of this particular sprocket was created. And then we saw how we have powerful search tools to search the right information. And then we saw there is something called as a workflow to share your data. So probably the initial review happens, and then there is a production person in line. And then there are these formats, the XML formats can be used to communicate as well. So there is another case where there are ECNs that are to be managed. So you can see that when I right click and then I say new, there is something called as an ECR that is getting generated. So for example, this particular part has been released for production, and then there is a request for engineering change. So such engineering change can also be managed automatically inside of PDM. So I will browse to my beacon vault. I'm going to right click on this and then I say new ECR. You can see that the ECR number is getting stamped on automatically, whereas a project, that is the beacon, as well as the project number is getting generated. The part number is spacer. Okay, I think I created it in another project. Let me browse back. Yes, this is the project that I created very recently. So the pacer part, it needs some changes. Probably it says material testing failed. So I say okay, there is another ECN form that is getting generated, and then you can see that a new folder got created in that particular project folder, and then it has the ECN part in it. I can add it into the workflow and then add it into the server and push it down the workflow that we previously spoke about. So this for you was SolidWorks PDM. So we can see that how the waste can be reduced. Say for example, every time I give a printout of the drawing that is present, there is a humongous amount of waste that is generated. So, and then you can see that how I can very easily improve my quality by the version and the revision control that is present inside of PDM. So by that you can see that it makes SolidWorks easier because we have an add-in present in it as well. So I also want to mention the point that we have an add-in even inside Windows. Say for example, I'm working on a particular Word, I have an add-in for Microsoft Word as well, as this is completely integrated with Microsoft Windows. So now we are open for questions. Kindly feel free to ask us any questions. Okay, so I have a question here. It basically asks whether I can manage AutoCAD or other CAD data. Yes, we do provide support to AutoCAD as well as Inventor and other such files. And I also have a question here. How do I roll back to different version available in server? Sir, I want a little bit of more information, or be specific when you mention. Is it the version of SolidWorks or the version of the PDM that you are referring to? I have a question here from Mr. Gopinath that basically asks if I can integrate their existing ECR format. Sir, I would like to know if it is, I would like to mention that if it is an Excel or a Word file, yes, I can integrate it into PDM. And then there is another question from Mr. Milind. He basically wants to know if I can export the file into a JT format. Yes, from 2018, I can export it into JT format. Version of file of Dinesh. PDM basically supports the previous two versions of SolidWorks files that are present very easily. I could say that because there are various new features that are getting added on to that are being made, changes that are being made onto the SolidWorks. So to support, in order to support those changes, we would like to say that it perfectly functions fine for the previous two versions of SolidWorks. So when it comes to adding any AutoCAD data into our PDM, we can directly add the the AutoCAD data into the PDM without any AutoCAD license that are present. If you have the files, that is more than enough. Hello, there is a question from Mr. Sheikh Mohammed. He basically wants to know when a particular part is in lightweight mode, why the balloon becomes a question mark. This I would like to say is not a PDM question. So kindly contact us. It seems to be like a technical support issue. So for further support, kindly drop a mail to techsupport@beacon-india.com, and then we will revert as ASAP. Okay, I have another question here from Mr. Syed. He basically wants to know if older files can be added into PDM. Yes, that basically depends on how the vault was configured, and we will have to go through the scope of work. So if there is some history that has to be fetched in, and then the vault is configured in a way I can do that, yes, it is possible. So there is another question from Mr. Gopinath. He basically wants to know if PDFs can be generated from AutoCAD files. Yes, that is possible, but for that we will need draft site professional licensed version. So in the case of if that is present, yes, I can automatically create PDFs out of AutoCAD files as well. Okay, I have another question here. The user basically wants to know how much time implementation takes. So the PDM implementation basically happens within a time span of, say, for example, a week to 1 or 2 months. So that basically depends on the requirements. So implementations basically depend on how much of data that you can provide us. So if there is the right information that I have access to, then I can finish it in probably a week. Hello, I have another question here from Mr. Gopinath. He basically wants to know if there are any default project templates. Sir, could you please elaborate on this, sir? Okay, so Mr. Gopinath, we have a template for ECN that we use for our demos. If in case you need that, yes, we can provide that as well. Mahesh wants to know what are if there are any features in SolidWorks 2018 that were enhanced. Yes, there is something new called as the revision table that is present, and then there is also something called the revision table. Basically, captures all the revisions. If it will tell me what are all the revisions that are present in that particular vault, and also there is another enhancement that is basically branching and merging as we name it. So that lets me add the share the data between two folders very easily. I can branch and I can also merge the two assemblies that are present. So I have another question here from Mr. Advesh. He basically wants to know how the backups is there backup capability? Yes, we do offer backup that can be set up to happen automatically every day or at the defined time periods. So I have another question from Mr. Danish here. He basically wants to know if I can roll back to previous version. Now I would like to say that is not possible as of now. So SolidWorks doesn't provide you with the rollback capability. If the version is present in a previous, if any PDM version is present in a previous SolidWorks version, yes, I can use it in that version. But PDM automatically, if it is working on 2018, I have to move forward to 2019, but I cannot move below or I cannot come roll back to 2017 because there are various enhancements, and then these might not will not be supported in 2017. So I have another question here from Mr. Advesh. He wants to know if the data that is saved inside PDM can be decrypted. No, that is one security that we provide. I told you there is some granular security. So once it is encrypted by PDM, I cannot decrypt it without PDM being present. So are there any other questions? In case, kindly do contact me. Okay, so now I would like to end the webinar. Thank you for attending the webinar. For further information, please do contact us.